My journey began like any other Skyblock player. I started off by punching a tree, gathering some wood, and then I bridged over to the hub island. From there, I talked to most of the villager NPCs, which all would give me 10 coins. And then I used that money I got to buy myself a rookie hoe from the farm merchant. I farmed a ton of wheat, and then I sold it all in order to buy a few armor pieces. And to be honest, that was the end of day 1. The next day, I basically did the same sort of thing. I started off by farming a ton of wheat, and then I sold it all for a decent amount of coins. I used those coins and then bought myself the last couple armor pieces that I needed, and then I was like, wait a minute, I probably need a sword, so I went to the weaponsmith and bought myself an undead sword. I bought this sword specifically because it increases my damage towards undead mobs, such as a skeleton or like a zombie, so it'll be extremely helpful in the caverns. I also bought myself some gold and then converted it into a golden pickaxe so that we could start mining. And, well, I started mining cobblestone, which increased my mining skill, and then after reaching a high enough mining level, we could finally go and explore the new gold mines. This new mine was filled with a ton of coal, iron, well, and obviously gold. On day 3, we continued to mine iron and gold in order for us to reach mining level 5, because once we hit that level, we were able to go and explore the deep caverns, which is one of the most dangerous mines on the server. There's actually different levels to the deep caverns, and then there's like this option to fast travel using this lift operator, but in order for us to use the fast travel feature, I have to go and manually find all of the mines first. So I started off on the gunpowder mine, but then I had to make my way down to the lapis quarry, which is actually kind of extremely frightening, because they have some pretty powerful creatures down there, and if I'm not careful, then they could kill me, which obviously my whole point in the series is to not die and survive for 100 days straight. But I actually spent a lot of time down there killing different zombies, and then just mining lapis. Because I did kill all of those zombies earlier, I was a pretty high combat level, which means that we could finally try out our first ever dungeon. And honestly, the main reason I even wanted to do a dungeon was because we could get some pretty overpowered items from it. But we did dungeons for roughly 5 to 6 days, and then at the end of it, I obtained 3 different armor pieces and a couple weapons. I also made some money, so I bought myself a couple new talisman, which, well, if you don't know what these do, they basically just give you a small stat boost. After that, I spent the next day attempting to do this really annoying quest called the Melody Harp, and I failed it so many times. Then after 6 days of attempting this, we finally completed it, and I got an epic talisman because of it. I really want to get more talisman because the more we have, then the better my stats are. So I attempted to do some Slayer bosses. There are 3 different mini bosses in the game, and we'll get to them all eventually. But we started with the Revenant Boss, which is the zombie boss, and then I spawned the tier 1 boss and easily killed it. I was going to do the tier 2 boss, but that one cost a lot of coins to spawn it, so I will just say that for another time. On day 21, I went to the spider's den and killed some spiders for more combat XP. On day 23 and 24, I did a brand new dungeon floor, and then I realized I was pretty much useless in it, so I went back to mining wood. Finally though, we gathered enough coins to do a tier 2 Revenant Boss, so I spawned it, and then I almost died. And apparently it's a lot more powerful than I thought. I wanted to get some better enchantments for my sword so that I could be dealing better damage and hopefully kill that Revenant Boss later on, but this required me to get an enchantment table, so I had to go down to the Diamond Reserve, which I haven't explored yet, and I almost died to some zombies, but I did luckily get some diamonds. I crafted a diamond pickaxe and then went down to the Obsidian Sanctuary, where I almost died again. I got the 4 obsidian and then crafted the enchantment table. I added this lifesteal enchantment to my sword, which gains HP when I kill mobs, which is very helpful. I forgot that I got a pretty good sword out of dungeons the other day, but I remembered that I wasn't a high enough skill level to use it. So I did my last dungeon for a very long time, but I was able to now use that weapon, and let me just say, it was literally 5 times stronger than my undead sword. I really needed to get better stats, so I spent the next few days obtaining the fairy souls in the hub, and then we redeemed them to the Tea of the Fairy, and we gained over 100 HP. On the Skyblock map, there are over 200 fairy souls hidden, and once we find them all, I believe we can get over like 500 extra HP, so that will be super good. And typically getting fairy souls would be a lot quicker than what I did today, but I am in the hardcore mode, and that means I can't use auction house, so I'm not able to buy like any ender pearls or any other items to help me get around faster. On days 34 to 35, I did a bunch of those zombie slayer bosses so that I could craft that zombie ring talisman I wanted. Days 36 and 37, I did some spider slayer bosses. On day 38, I spent $5 on the Hypixel store to buy myself something called a booster cookie, and what these do is they start giving you like another form of currency on the server called bits. For now, they are pretty much useless, but in a few hours of the game, I'll have enough bits to buy something pretty amazing. Day 39 and 40, I started doing the Wolf Slayer boss fights. Completing all these different boss fights are like extremely beneficial, that's why I'm doing it, because basically it gives me just a small stat increase, which in the long run, having that one extra damage could actually help. Okay, so now I may have spent the next 4 days just AFKing, and here's why. Because every 30 minutes, you get a certain amount of bits, so in 4 days or 2 hours, I was able to get enough bits to buy myself one of those things called a God Potion, and these give you every single potion effects for 24 hours. And because we got this potion, on day 45, I started my journey in the end. My whole goal was to get a piece of the Ender Armor, which is obtained by killing Endermen. And then, luckily, within the next 10 minutes, I got myself the Ender Chestplate. Now that you can see it, the reason I did want this item was because all of the stats on these different armor pieces are doubled when in the end. So once we get a full set, I should have enough defense and health to explore the Dragon's Nest. Days 46 to 52, I kept killing Endermen, and at this point, it was a very long time grinding, and I got the full Ender set. My next goal was to get something called the Aspect of the End, which is a pretty powerful weapon, but this required 25,000 Ender Pearls to be collected, and this took me another 5 days to get all of that. And of course, on day 58, we unlocked that recipe for the weapon, but we needed one more thing. I had to go and get myself an enchanted diamond to craft the sword. It took me until day 60 to mine enough diamonds so that I could craft that enchanted diamond, but there was one more thing we needed. We needed to have 32 enchanted Eye of Ender. So obviously, I still have all of those Ender Pearls I got when I was farming the Enderman, but what we need to do is we need to get Blaze Powder in order to craft them into enchanted Eye of Ender. And this required a lot of Blaze Rods, so for this, I spent the next 2 days killing blazes to get, enough Blaze Powder. But I had all the materials to craft the sword, and we crafted it. And then I took all of the remaining Ender Pearls and sold them all to the NPC, and now I had over 700,000 coins, and I was also dealing like 10,000 damage with that sword, so that was really good. On day 64, I talked to a man named Goober, I think that's how you say his name, and I just completed his simple little race in the end, and then he rewarded me with a free talisman. Day 65, I went over to the Jerry's Workshop, which is like this special event that happens every 5 days. But yeah, I completed another race, and it was really weird. I had to fly on a chicken through like rings. It's kind of cool, but it was whatever. We completed that race, and we got another talisman. On days 66 through 69, I spent a while doing these things, but I completed something called a fire trial, which that gave me another talisman. And then after that, I did another race that gave me another talisman. Then I talked to Romeo and Juliet, and I had to do this like little favor for them. I did another quest, and then they gave me another talisman. And honestly, at this point, I think we had over like 20 talisman, which is very, very good. And it just gives me the ability to deal a lot more damage. Basically, my next big goal is to fight an Ender Dragon, but that requires me to summon it. And the only way to do that is if I kill something called a Zealot. And if I kill a Zealot and get lucky enough to get something called a Special Zealot, once I get one of those, I kill that one, and then I get something called the Summoning Eye. Which, as you can kind of tell by the name, it's a Summoning Eye. You use that to summon a dragon. But yeah, I started killing these Zealots, and then within like 20 minutes, which is very, very lucky to get, I got my first Special Zealot. I will be completely honest here. I was so annoyed at trying to farm Summoning Eyes because these players that are in the lobbies are like absolute tryhards. We have like 5 to 10 people in every single lobby possible traveling at the speed of light just to kill Summoning Eyes, but I spent like 5 days grinding them and I was able to obtain 3 of them. But then something unexpected happened. In order to spawn a dragon, you need to have 8 Summoning Eyes total. This can be split up between different players, and well, someone in my lobby placed 5 of those eyes down in the end portal frames. So what I did is I placed my 3 that I had, and then It was summoning the dragon. It was finally happening. This was my goal in the whole entire playthrough, to spawn a dragon. And there are different types of dragons, I'm not going to really go over them, but the one we got was called a wise dragon, which is good, but if we get any of the armor pieces from it, it'll just be wise armor, which only is like good for defense and intelligence. It's not that terrible, but I'd much rather have a different type of armor piece dropped because we could get something that will make us deal more damage, which means later in the future, any other boss fights or anything else will just be a little bit easier. But at the end of the boss fight, I surprisingly dealt 200,000 damage, which I thought I was going to get a few thousand, to be completely honest. But we got ourselves a wise dragon leggings. As you can see, the armor just gives me some more defense and intelligence, so I might not really be using this because my goal is to try getting more strength, and that's what the ender armor's for. It just gives me more damage, but obviously I'm going to keep it and I'll use it if I need it. My goal was completed and I didn't really know what to do next, but then I saw that Mayor Paul was active, and I guess he gives like a specific buff towards dungeons. So up until day 95, I did a crap ton of dungeons, and I'll be honest, I failed a lot because I just don't have really good gear, but eventually I got carried to every single floor, and then I leveled up my skill a ton, and I was up to level 17 in Catacombs. Honestly, I just don't know what to do next. We have 5 more days remaining, and we haven't really built anything on our island, and I'm just not a builder. I suck at building, and to be honest, this game, I mean, who cares about what the island looks like? It's all about exploring and just doing other things. We still have a lot of things we could do, but one thing about this game is that it's super grindy, and it's really boring to see the same thing over and over. So, I guess you're in luck. Let's watch my cobblestone minion mine cobblestone for a full day. And here's the time lapse. On day 97 and 98, we did the Magma Cube boss, and it was actually very unfortunate for us. We didn't even get a hit on any of the bosses. They were just killed so fast, and our bow just couldn't reach it in time, so we got just magma cream from them. Day 99, I watched my cobblestone minion mine some more cobblestone. And now it was day 100. It was finally over. All 100 days have been completed, and we made some really great progress. But here are a look at my current stats. If anyone really cares, you can always pause the video here. But just like that, that was 100 days in Hypixel Skyblock Hardcore.